All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're going to tackle a huge question that comes straight out of the book of Exodus, one that people have been wrestling with for thousands of years.
I mean, this is the core problem, right? You've got a perfect, holy God on one side, and then you have us, imperfect people. So how in the world can those two things coexist? How can there be any real connection? It feels like it should be impossible. But what's amazing is that God himself lays out this incredibly detailed answer.
And this really gets to the heart of the paradox. Okay, so on one hand, God's holiness means he is totally set apart, sacred. You can't just stroll up to him any way you want. But on the other hand, he has this deep, deep desire to be with his people, to be present and approachable. So what gives? How do you possibly bridge a gap that big?
Well, God's answer starts with a blueprint. And get this, it's not for some giant stone temple built on a faraway mountain. Nope. It's for a portable home, a special tent that could actually travel with the people wherever they went. And listen, if you've ever tried to read this part of Exodus, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It can feel, well, a little tedious, right? It lists everything, the exact materials, the measurements down to the inch, how many gold clasps to use, what kind of incense to burn. I mean, the level of detail is just, wow, it's staggering. And all that detail just makes you wonder, why? Why be so incredibly specific? Couldn't they have just, built a really beautiful tent in a way that made sense to them? Why all the rules?
Okay, and the answer here is so important. All that specificity wasn't just about interior design, it was about definition. God was making it absolutely crystal clear. The only way to approach him is on his terms, not on human terms. This was to stop people from just making up their own ways to worship, or even worse, copying the rituals of the pagan nations around them. The message couldn't be missed. God, and God alone, provides the way for you to come to him.
And what's so cool is that God doesn't leave them guessing. He tells them the purpose straight up. This tent wasn't just a symbol. It was meant to be a literal meeting place, a space for God to meet you, to talk to you. And here's the kicker. What made the place holy wasn't the fancy gold or the expert craftsmanship. It was his glory, his actual presence that would make it holy.
So you have the holy place, but that's only part of the equation. You also need holy people to serve in that holy place. And that brings us to the next piece of the puzzle in God's solution.
So God picks Aaron and his sons to be the priests. But wait a minute, were these guys chosen because they were already super righteous? Were they just better people than everyone else? Well, if you look at the story, it points to something totally different. And this right here, this is a total game changer. Think about it. Their qualification to be priests had nothing to do with their personal moral resume. Their holiness wasn't something they earned or achieved. It was a gift. It was a status given to them by God for God's purpose. And this just perfectly illustrates the whole principle, doesn't it? The process to become a priest, they were chosen by God, they were set apart by these special rituals, they were even given these holy clothes to wear. Notice a pattern? Every single step was something being done to them, not something they were doing themselves. This is huge. God isn't looking around for people who have already made themselves holy. He chooses people and then he makes them holy so they can come near to him. So when you see this pattern over and over, God providing the place, God providing the people, God doing the making holy part, it leads to this massive aha moment. It completely flips our whole idea of what it even means to be holy. Okay, this is where it gets really personal. Most of the time, we think of holiness as this impossible ladder we're supposed to climb, right? It feels like a heavy burden, this perfect standard that we're always failing to meet. But the picture we're getting from Exodus is completely different. It tells us that holiness isn't a prize you win at the top of the ladder. It's a gift that's handed to you at the bottom. So what is this holiness anyway? Well, instead of just a long list of don'ts, God's holiness is shown as the very source of everything good. It's life, it's light, it's pure goodness and creativity. So being holy isn't about trying to be less bad, it's about being plugged into the source of all that is good. And if you think about it, that changes everything about what it means to live a holy life. Suddenly, it's not this stressful, guilt-filled chore of trying to become something you aren't. Instead, it becomes this joyful, grateful response.
Your job is just to take care of this incredible gift you've been given. It's not a burden to carry. It's a treasure to protect.
Okay, so this all leads us to the final piece of the puzzle. Because you see, this whole system with the tabernacle and the priests, it was never meant to be the end of the story.
That whole setup, the tent, the ceremonies, the priests, it was all a preview, a physical demonstration. It was like a shadow pointing towards something much, much bigger. A permanent fix for that original problem. How can a holy God live with us?
And in the New Testament, this is where Jesus steps onto the scene. He is the ultimate fulfillment of both of those things we've been talking about. He is the true tabernacle, the real meeting place between God and us. I mean, one of his names is literally God with us. And he is also the ultimate high priest, the one who opens the way for us to come to God, not through some complicated ritual, but just through him.
And that really is the heart of the whole thing. The answer to that big question, how can a perfect God live among imperfect people, is that God provides the answer himself. He doesn't just stand back and give us an impossible task. He says, look, I'll enable you. I will make the way. I'm going to provide the meeting place, I'm going to provide the priest, and I'm even going to provide the holiness you need. So that leaves us with a pretty big thought to chew on. What changes for you, for me, when we stop seeing connection with God as a reward we have to earn and start seeing it as a gift that's just waiting for us to accept?